Hello, Corey here, Country Left Farm. So, one of my many winter projects up here in upstate New York is going to be a new solar heater for the greenhouse. Now, with the greenhouse, I get about 3-4 weeks with just the greenhouse extra growing season every year. But if I heat it with propane, I'll probably get about 2 months. Problem is, propane, even though it's cheap, isn't that cheap when you're trying to run a greenhouse with it. So, we're going to build a solar heater, help offset the cost of the propane, give us 2 more months of growing season. All right, so for the base of my solar heater, I went with 3/4 inch treated plywood because it's going to be on the roof and it's going to have moisture. I want it to rot out. The sides, I just use regular 2x6s. I'm going to paint them all up when we're all done, so that won't matter. And then the inside of it, we just painted all black. I got some brackets mounted on the side. That's where I'm going to mount it on the top of the greenhouse. Then we just got to run our duct work in there and plumb it in the greenhouse. Now for this one, I'm using 5-inch heat pipe because I had a shitload of it floating around. Bunch of it, as you can see, is all rusted to hell. I got a bunch of that from the dump, so I had to go out and buy, I think, about 4 or 5 fittings in total to put this whole thing together. Now, they're 10, 11, 12 bucks a piece, depending on where you are, so that's 60 bucks. But if I had to buy all the parts for this, I'm probably looking at 300-400 bucks in parts just in the piping. So if you can find used stuff, by all means, use used stuff. Okay, so we got our inlet hole drilled out. We got all our piping ran, outlet hole drilled out. I got everything taped off just to try to keep this thing as airtight as possible. So now I just got to go through and paint the whole thing black. Then once we get it painted black, we're going to put a bead of silicone all the way around it. Piece of plexiglass on top of it. That way it traps a lot of heat in there, keep it nice and warm. All right, so we got it all painted up. A couple of things I wanted to point out real quick. For the base of this, around the whole outside edge, we siliconed it. And then the bracing, just to keep it from moving around, that center brace I put in there, that's to help keep the plexiglass off the pipe. I don't want the plexiglass getting too hot from the pipe and melting or anything like that. But there it is. Now I just got to let it all dry up, silicone it, and mount the top. All right. So we got the plexiglass silicone screwed down. I went a little crazy with the screws because I didn't like the way the silicone was pushing out, and I wanted to make sure I kept a nice tight seal on there, because the whole purpose of this box is to keep it all nice and airtight. That way it keeps a lot of heat in there so I can circulate it through the greenhouse real well. Now for this, we're going to mount it on the southward facing side of the greenhouse. That way it's getting the sun all day, so that way when we hook it up and pump it through, it's just pumping constant hot air through that greenhouse. Now for this style, I just built this, like I said, because I had a bunch of piping left over. I bought about 4 or 5 fittings. I bought the plywood. I bought a couple 2x6s. I mean, I honestly got less than 200 bucks into this project, minus the plexiglass. I paid like 40 bucks, 50 bucks for that on Facebook Marketplace. So like I said, you can find stuff cheap everywhere to build whatever. I've seen guys build these things with like duct work for dryer vents, beer cans. That was actually pretty cool with the beer can one. But I mean, there's all different kinds of styles you can build with this. So figure out what works best for you and then go ahead and build one, get it all set up. There it is. Get growing. Later, y'all.